And welcome to the DragonShip. I'm Thor. We're having fun this Saturday. We're going to enjoy our broadcast today and chop it up kind of lightheartedly with kind of a serious subject. Today, we're going to talk about female nature unleashed. Unleashed female nature. And why? Why on earth would Thor think all women are like that? A pretty astounding claim, right? Female nature. It's a wonderful thing. We live in a wonderful society. So I don't want to piss off the YouTube gods. And yes, living in a female gynocentric society is fantastic. However, that being said, I do think women are all like that. Like what, Thor? Well, couple basics. Females, well, they can have children. So they're all like that. They're all capable of having children. How about that? They're all exactly like that. Now, in society, they might say, well, not all women are like that. Well, they may not want to be like that, but just by their mere biology, they're exactly like that. They can all have children, unless, of course, they were somehow damaged or somewhat defective when born and not capable because of something wrong. But nature has intended them to have children, and nature has intended men to impregnate them and give them children. This is nature's way. So therefore, men are just like that too. Now, as we kind of get more and more advanced and start talking about male and female behaviors uh, and female nature unleashed, we can start to talk about hypergamy. And we're going to start to talk about that. I'm going to bring up the panel, but we're going to talk about hypergamy. It's become kind of the buzzword in the manosphere for the last 10 years or so. And it's actually starting to run mainstream now. And there's actually some acknowledgement because it is based in evolutionary psychology, and the understanding of male female sexual strategy is different. It is not the same. Contrary to the popular belief that the strategies are chosen. Now, you can choose the tactics, of course, but the actual strategies are inbuilt into our DNA, into our instincts. Could you subvert them? Of course you can, but that doesn't alleviate the fact that we're all still exactly like that. For example, I'll give an example of male sexual strategy. You ever hear the story of the old bull and the young bull? Let me tell you the story. Male sexual strategy, as demonstrated by the story of the old bull and the young bull. Up on a green hill overlooking a beautiful pasture of about 24 cows is a young bull, and there's the old bull. And the young bull and the old bull are looking out at the pasture, watching all the cows eat. And the young bull stomps around and huffs and puffs, and he says, old bull, let's run down the hill and let's fuck a cow. And the old bull looks around and says, young bull, no, let's walk down and fuck all the cows. And so there's the wisdom in the old bull and the young bull. Males have an innate drive to seek out unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And the females must protect against this because her mere life is put on the line by the mere act of her giving birth. There is a risk. So she must select the actual best suitors possible that would give her a couple of things. We're going to talk about it. And this is why all women are like this. And we can demonstrate this as this is shown throughout their life cycle and their behaviors. Men are pretty static this way, where they have these drives. Women, on the other hand, have a fertility window that they have to follow. So they have to change their selectivity as they move forward. And it has changed with the advent of hormonal birth control somewhat. When I say changed, it's just modified some behaviors. The actual drives are still the same. But women must select for the best provider. That's in their mind always. However, that is not always the best genetics. There's something about the tingles that women really get. There is the Chris Hemsworth. There is the Aquaman. And those guys are visually stunning to women, and they paint a picture. A woman sees those sort of guys, and it appeals right to her core agency, which is her sexuality. Oh, I will get sexy sons out of this mix. And we can go into this with detail with the panel, but this is kind of where I want to focus on why hypergamy is actually a very, very good thing for the human race. and for moving us forward as a species, and why all women are exactly like that, regardless of their circumstances. So let me bring up the panel. First up, we're going to bring old Huds, and then we're going to bring our other stalwart, old Mark Daniels. We're going to bring in Glenn Lawrence, looking sharp. Oh, look at that action background. We're also going to bring in Raith, another fantastic member, and we're bringing in Phil Foster and our newest panel member, Andre. Guys, welcome to the Dragon Ship. You know what we're talking about today. This is not a bash fest on women. This is an uplift. I am glad all women are like this. Female nature unleashed makes me a much better man. And I'll tell you why. I have to compete at such a higher level because I recognize the fact that all women desire maybe only the top, let's put it differently. They only find the top 20% of all males even close to being somewhat attractive. And the ones that fit into that top 10, 4% are so attractive that the women must make contact. This is very interesting and very telling of their nature, right down to the core instinct level and the emotions that drive them. And I love it because while it disappoints many men because society has promised them in the past one man, one woman, and you have a soulmate, the reality is that is not the case. You have to earn it, which fits right into, self-improvement, betterment, and that's what we're all about here. So with that, I'm going to do roundtable and let everybody introduce themselves. We will start in reverse today. Andre, tell us about yourself and about the subject today, and tell me why you think women are all like that.
Oh, well, first, in order, I do NLP and hypnosis, help guys reprogram, rewrite the nonsense, if you will, be it good, bad, or indifferent, whatever's happening in your life. And one of the things most successfully that's happened since the going in the late 50s, definitely in the 60s, was rewriting people's software, their code inside their brains to basically begin to hate men, begin to hate the men hate themselves, hate relationships, and women hate men and hate relationships. And some people might call that a communist manifesto or cultural Marxism. But yes, women, the hypergamy thing is, yeah, they should always, I think, to put the species forward, should be hypergamous in one sense, to get the best man they can. It's just now that it's been hijacked to push it to such an extreme that a lot of men aren't. But the way that it naturally works through history, all cultures, one guy gets 5, 6 women, maybe 20 women. If he's the head, if he's the guy or whatever. So he has his chew, and then as it goes down, then finally the scraps get to the scraps, if you will. But yes, I agree with what you're saying here. And that's the reality. You can't, everything you come back to, it's biology. If you like it or not, you believe in evolutionary theory or not, you believe in gods or whatever, it doesn't matter. That's how it's done. Anyway, so there you go.
Thank you, Andre. Appreciate that. We're gonna dig into that because I think there's a lot of benefit to understanding this because you can really leverage this to motivate yourself to improve, knowing what you're up against instead of buying into the blue pill fantasy. Raith Thor, one of my favorites, original Dragon Ship members. Welcome. Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah. Is hypergamy real? Yeah. Are all women the same? No, there's a difference. All women are driven by hypergamous nature, but how they exhibit that's different. Some women do it through being feminine. Some women do it through challenge and feminism. So there's a broad range of how women behave based on seeking the best outcome for them. So
all right, fantastic. So not all women are like that, but they're all hypergamous, so they are like that.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're all hypergamous, but they, like I said, they have different ways of exhibiting or manifesting the needs that they have.
Good.
And some of that, like I said, some of that is through being feminine,
mm-hmm.
and other parts of it is by being feminist. And there's the in between where they're somewhat feminine, but they have a, whether they want to admit it or not, they have a feminist thought process behind how they're behaving.
I want to come back to that later because I think, at least I want to talk to you about that later. Keep that thought in mind because I think ultimately that even the most ardent feminist woman still has the same drives. And ultimately, if you look at them long enough, you see those drives being played out.
Yeah, I would say that's true, but we'll talk about it.
Glenn Lawrence, Mr. Hollywood, buddy. What's up, man? Liking the beard. Unmute yourself, bad guy. Can you unmute? Let's see if I can.
There we go. How you guys doing?
Good, good, good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. You know, just working, staying busy.
So what are your thoughts, man? I mean, I see your new action background. Is that from one of your sets?
Actually, that's from a film I did called Interview with the Antichrist, where I play
Interesting.
one of the soldiers for the Antichrist. So yeah.
Are you typecast a soldier and a bad guy?
Oh yeah. I'm so typecast. Like you're not gonna get me to be like the loving dad on the TV show or something.
It's so funny. You're like the bad guy, but we all kind of know the secret.
Hey, you know what? Bad guys have the most freedom, you know, in any movie.
They do, don't they?
They're not stuck in a box.
But they all have hearts of gold.
But you know what? All women are like that in a sense of, here's the thing, whether they don't act on it all the time, they still have the inclinations. Hypergamy still will get to them to a degree, depend on how where they see their relationship or how they value their relationship really determines whether they're going to act on their hypergamous nature or not. It doesn't mean that not. So when women say, well, I'm not like that. Sure you are. You just may not act on it. You may not decide to act on it. You may value what you have a little different than most other women or some other women. But at the end of the day, all women are like that.
Okay. That sounds real good. And I'm going to come back around with a follow-up question once everybody's got this first one. And that's how each of us define it. I'll give it my shot on very basic hypergamy at the lowest level. So Phil Foster, Mr. Fitness. How are you doing out there in deep Texas? And
doing well
on this, man. What are you up to these days? And how's your channel? And what do you think about this topic today?
So everything's going great, man. Hypergamy, hypergamous. All women definitely are 100%. I don't care. They have displayed it in one form or another throughout their life. It's just part of nature, man. It's just how it is. You know, a lot of women will deny, and I think you said it earlier before we went live. You said they have a hard time articulating it, and how I help a lot of women understand that is like, okay, you know, so let me see a picture of you and your man together, and there's kind of a smile, and I say, okay, have you ever met a celebrity before?
Yes.
Now let me see that smile. There it is, right there. You just don't even realize it. But women definitely all 100% are hypergamous, whether they act on it like these other gents were talking about it, whether it's through the feminist programming or being feminine, kind of like what Raith was saying. That was an excellent point right there. And challenging, I think definitely they have no choice. It's in their biology. It's who they are. That's how we are as a species. I think it's necessary.
Oh, totally agreed. And you bring up a good point, because if you've been around enough women and you see that smile that you talked about, that celebrity smile, it demonstrates something called the tingles. And the best way that I can describe it as we move forward is look at what happens when a woman does get the tingles. She'll have a 436 bullet point checklist for that man she's going to have children with. But those all start to disappear when the tingles come up. Well, it's okay because of this, and it's okay because of that. It all starts to soften and fade. And that's a critical part of hypergamy, because, you know, sex for a woman can be such a high cost. So that has to feel so good and drive such good emotions that she's almost aroused and out of control. Otherwise, the species wouldn't propagate, because nobody can actually meet the 436 point bullet list, or at least that's my opinion. Mark Daniels, what do you think on this, man? What have you been up to? I see that you've been broadcasting quite a bit and doing your thing down there in the South. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Mark, I'm not hearing you. Microphone. Yeah. Not yet. Nope. No sound, buddy. Yep. Take a look at that. I'll come right back to you, Mark. All right, Huds, same question, man. What have you been up to? I know that you just did an awesome webinar and you're getting ready to launch a course. Now, tell us about that, and then take us into what your thoughts are about today's topic and hypergamic nature, why women are all like that.
Absolutely. So yeah, Huds, I'm a dating coach. I just did a webinar with Andre. We're going to be launching a course. Because I'm a dating coach and I'm in the mix, I know texting a lot more. And he comes from like the mindset and NLP hypnosis. So when you take the mindset and the fundamentals or the mindset fundamentals and you pull that with the technical, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do, because if you're not right up here, then you can know all the skills in the world and it doesn't matter. You're still going to trip on your own feet. So we're working on that, and we're going to be launching that soon, probably the first week of October, if not a little bit before then. We're just getting things sorted out, but it was a great reception that we had with the guys. We did a full breakdown of one of my clients and their text interactions, and really dissecting how you go from point A to point B. You know, actually getting the dates, getting the woman attracted, going from extremely low interest to getting her extremely high interest and really, really wanting to see him. So on today's topic, you know, I think it's interesting. There's not really anything I can say outside of what everybody already has. I do find it interesting that, you know, all women are always looking for the best. Like, you go, girl. But it gets to the point where you got to cash out of the casino. Now, I do believe that if a woman is raised right, like she has a good father, she hangs around good people, then she's going to understand when she has a man to lock down. But there's just so much in the media today, and that pushes them and tells them that they can keep going forever, and it leads to a lot of unhappy women. And those it's such a shame, because those unhappy women at the end of the road will still tell the younger girls, you can get anything that you want, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. And whenever you're because it's, you know, men are more logic based and women are more feelings based, you can't even tell a girl, like, no, that's not how it works, because it hurts her feelings, and because it hurts her feelings, she doesn't listen to it. But yeah, it's we just communicate differently. That's what it's all about.
I like what you said about your feelings, because her feelings, because would it be fair to say, like, I've seen you in action before, what you really specialize in is men are really not good at emotional communicators. And that doesn't mean being vulnerable. It means being able to sense and work within a woman's emotions, or create the atmosphere so her emotions can be expressed. Would it be fair to say that that's what you coach men to do, you and Andre, is to be able to recognize those needs and then basically put those emotions out there, and it makes it much more satisfying for women. So your success rate should go up when you're able to do that, because that's really what they need, or at least they say that's what they need, and they respond to emotionalism very, very well. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many subtle things that you can learn that you got to learn that skill. Otherwise, you're going to keep banging your head against the wall.
Well, you got a lot of business coming, because, you know, due to social constructionism today and equalism, that has been extremely difficult, because men get isolated in that bottom 80%, and men don't communicate that way very well anyway. It's very spatial. So it is or it isn't. Now, Mark, have we got you back up, buddy? You're muted still. What's going on here, Mark?
You hear me now?
I can. Yep. We got the mic up, man. No worries, buddy.
Okay. I was listening to everyone talk, and I was thinking, if we were a woman, we would want the best, wouldn't we? So we would, and as men, we want the best. So it's in our nature to pick out the best. So I know some guys seem to get angry because they say women are hypergamous, but actually, if it was I have a daughter, I want her to get the best. So if she's going out with some guy working at McDonald's and he doesn't look like he's going anywhere, and she has an opportunity to go out with a guy who's maybe going to college, or he's got a good career, whatever he's got, I would much rather her go out with the one seeking a good career, the one that's more ambitious, the one that's actually moving ahead with his life rather than the other guys. So, yeah, they're all like that. But as we spoke, we all have our human nature too.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way, and people, men get angry, and I think we have guys that actually hate women because of the way they are. I think we need to learn to understand how women are and realize that we're not walking in their shoes. And like you said, Thor, it's a big deal for them to mate with someone. I mean, what if they get pregnant? I've dated girls that got pregnant by me and they had the baby, but found out later that they had got pregnant a couple times before and aborted the kids from what they considered a loser. So it's a big deal.
It really is.
Even with the birth control, there's always that chance because women have a tendency to not maybe take the pill every day, or they don't go get their shot or whatever. So there's always that chance that they could get pregnant. So then they have to decide in our society whether to keep the baby or not. And then, so it's a big deal because there's repercussions whether they keep it or whether they don't keep it.
It is a big deal. That's true. It's true. So I want to take this into the next level and define it for you guys just real quickly. I'm going to tell you a story about hypergamy. Okay. Dear family friend, Chinese lady from China. She was there before they did the one child policy. Very, very young girl. Very, very young. But they instituted the one child policy, and I had talked to her about that, and we had a good conversation about, there's actually a problem in China where, because of that, as far as young men and young women are concerned, there's 40 million more men than there are women in China. Now, get this though. There's nothing different really about those men, but when their society has more men than women, what do you think happens? The majority, and I talked to her about this, and she's been in China for a while, and she's here, and I asked the differences and why she was telling me that Chinese women there have an extreme distaste for the majority of Chinese men. There's too many. They're always hungry. We know what they're hungry for, right? And so there has been developed this huge distaste. And you can see there's actually, we talked about some studies that have been done on sexual preference in Chinese women. It's straying away from race. And typically it will follow racial lines, right? I'm not being racist in any way. It's just what it's been, right? It has fallen away from that with the increase in the number of men that are around. And I found that super interesting because it falls right in line with, the 80%. But now there's too many men. They have to be even more selective, because even though you're increasing the desirable number of men, it's not proportionate to the men that are not viewed as desirable. And in fact, when I was speaking with her, her first words out of her mouth is, Chinese men, most are garbage. No, don't even see them. So it was her way of speaking in the language transition, but I found it super interesting. So I'm just going to bring up a graph and we'll talk about it. All right. So this is basically a graph on hypergamy, which kind of is drawn directly. This is a few years old, and this is drawn directly in kind of where there's women here and there's men here. And what we're taught in society is one man, one woman. And this is pretty universal. And the reason it is because it's very effective. This satisfies a couple of things. It satisfies the need of a woman to get a good provider. If she has a man that she can lock in with, that's a provider for children, critical to survival, right? It satisfies the male side of the equation in that he has a mate. Even though he's driven to get more, he still has a mate, and most men would gladly settle for a single good girlfriend. They would. And when they do that, most men put on wife goggles. Everything's quite good. They're good with that. Most men. There's a group of men which sit over here that aren't quite satisfied with that, and they actually understand female nature. And because of that, they make themselves extremely desirable. They give the tingles. And as a result of this is how women view men that they want to mate with. Those are the desirable ones. These are the invisible ones. This is what society puts out and has been effective for centuries, because this solves a lot of problems when you're in a a civilization that has agriculture. If you don't do that, these men become extremely sexually frustrated. And if you noticed, Mark just or somebody just mentioned it earlier, that when a man is sexually frustrated, it comes across as what? They express it in anger. Where does that anger go to? When a man expresses entitlement, it's, I'm entitled to that woman. I'm entitled to sex. Even women come out and say, you guys think you're all entitled to sex, right? So this is just kind of a demonstration of how it really is. And this is how society wanted it to be. And actually, most people would be comfortable if this was true. And because of social norms and barriers that we put up with shaming, religion, this is held quite a bit. And this is not talked about. Just because it's not talked about doesn't mean this doesn't exist. It's always, always existed. And here's a demonstration of a tweet that was found. Check this out. This is an Indian woman. And surprisingly enough, and I didn't do this on purpose, but the term hypergamy came out of India, describing the different classes and how mating was done and how marriages were arranged back in the 1850s. But here it is. This is the Indian woman, and I think she's being really honest here. It's me when I'm dating a white guy. Let's have sex before our first date is even over. She's describing that tingly side where, basically she's with Chris Hemsworth. And then her, when she's dating an Indian guy, yowza, this could be the one I end up marrying. Question mark, exclamation, exclamation. Better make him wait until the 20th date to hold my hand. Wow, fits into one of Rollo Tomasi's rules too, huh? The one that he explains to men that understand hypergamy, which is if you have to wait for the sex, it's never worth the wait. And this explains it perfectly because look at her. What did she just say? With that one guy, the burning desire, the need is so urgent that she will risk pregnancy and death to have sex with him. But the provider, what prevents her? What prevents her? This is the dichotomy of hypergamy in women. It's been very effective because she gets the good genes, but then she's able to also, get the good provider. And even more stunning, and I'm not going to pull it up, but even more stunning is when we look at the most recent genetic samplings that come from 23andMe and Ancestry.com, and we realize that somewhere right around 20% of all children are not the children of the father that has been designated. That's nearly 1 in 5. That is the reason that I'm saying female nature unleashed. It is what it is. What do you guys say to that? Huds, what's your definition of hypergamy? Is it Chads or dads? It's both, isn't it?
It is. It is both. It's interesting. When you were talking about numbers earlier, it made me think. I never had trouble in college. And college was a hell of a fun time. But that's because, it wasn't even just 50-50. It's more like that 60-40 where it's 60% women, 40% guys. And then I thought, then when you move to the real world, I remember post-college, I actually struggled for a little bit to meet these women because it wasn't the same type of scene with everybody going out to bars and parties, and the numbers started to even out more. So it's interesting that you say that, and I definitely agree with you that when there is less, when there's more men, less women, that makes it even more dangerous. And guys end up, they get to that point of frustration, and it gets messy. It's definitely true. Like every girl does want the best guy that they can get, and it's just reality. So that's why we preach so hard about self-improvement and being the best man you can be, and understanding that it's not just looks, it's not just money, it's not just status, it's also social. It's game. You need to understand how to communicate with them, because otherwise you can have everything else in the world, but if you just a social idiot, she's going to walk all over you.
Right. So with everything I just said, Raith, we had such a good conversation earlier about hypergamy. What are your thoughts? And how do women that are feminists express it differently, you think? Oh, you're muted.
I think from a standpoint that feminist women tend to be be more inclined to be entitled to the top 20% instead of thinking that they have to compete for the top 20%. And so that entitlement is expressed through boss behavior, and I what they don't realize is it automatically becomes unattractive when they behave that way for most men. A guy that's attracted to that is just trying to break the woman. For the most part. That's been my experience. And those relationships are very volatile. And because, and I've said this in many shows, my understanding of feminism and what I don't understand about it is why they want to take the worst of male behavior and say that makes them equal. I don't necessarily want to be around women that can be violent or want to be violent or will be violent. Not because I'm afraid of them. It's just not something that I'm attracted to. And, so taking those behaviors and those things that they've condemned us for that are toxic and then turn around and saying these are positive feminine behaviors, it boggles my mind sometimes. And to listen to the arguments about it, it's just weird.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think from a standpoint, when it comes to more men in society than women and women having more selection, I think what you see is the frustration in especially younger men as they're incapable of being able to express masculinity in a way that is attractive to women. And I think that's why you see school shooters and stuff like that.
That's that frustration. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, men have always acted out in, to bring attention to themselves, either through a violent act or, and let's just take hunting and those kind of things. Hunting, even though it's, for food and stuff like that, it's still a violent act. I mean, I hunt, I know, you're damaging another living thing in order to survive. And it's not a far reach for young men to misconfuse, survival, because that's what they think they're doing, that they're not being able to survive, and to turn that frustration into anger and violence, because that's a survival mechanism. And the biggest thing I know when I work with young men and disenfranchised youth is to get them out of survival mode. Way too many young men live in survival mode. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. Yeah. I mean, whenever I've been challenged or, what I thought was a challenge for me, either in dating or something like that, it spurred me to improve myself. Okay. These days it spurs young men to be violent towards other people or angry with other people because they have no self-accountability.
Yep, I agree with that. Now, as far as feminism, I find it modern feminism much deeper. I think they're really smart. I do think they understand female nature, and I think it's actually become a form of identity politics to actually create the divisions we're seeing between men and women and create that entitlement at the upper majority end, because it keeps us from seeing what's actually happening.
Right.
And to get us at each other's throats at the family level, oh, that's control. Extreme control. The next thing is thought crimes, but I digress. I want to move on because we talk about women. You talked about women as they age, Huds, and as they obviously as they become much more inclined to be feminist, and they miss out on opportunities. Phil was so gracious as to. I'm going to move to Phil next, and then we'll keep answering the question on definitions. But I have a little video that Phil put out to me about this exact topic. We're going to show a little video, and we all get to react to it if you want. But Phil, I want you to talk about this young lady. She has, if you look at her, TikTok is somewhat of a feminist, but she has all the same desires, and you can see them creeping through. And she doesn't have any kids, and she's now 41. So take a quick look at this one, guys. So here we are. This is the attention seeking.
Big time. That's that boss lady stuff he was talking of. Raith was talking about.
Here's some other ones I put in. Same thing. Now this one's much younger. Now there's a difference between the two. This one has unlimited options. The other one didn't.
Didn't have the flu. Kendall's not here because she's just got the flu or something.
Interesting. I want to go back to the first one. This is the 41-year-old.
Yeah.
There you go. I didn't show all the rest, but here you go.
Why is this okay, but this isn't? Why?
Anyways, it was just a quick little video kind of demonstrating her at 41, but it was very revealing that she had a couple posts in there aside from drinking wine, and life is really good, and revealing that she didn't have any kids at 41, and she can remember all she ever wanted as a child. That's that drive I'm talking about. That drive's very strong with women. And knowing that fact, we also knowing that hypergamy is there for a reason, is to drive them having sex and then finding a provider and basically, procreating and having children. What do you think, Phil?
Well, I think she's the typical middle-aged woman, boss lady, kind of like what Raith was talking about. With one of the ones that, out of all those videos that stuck out to me the most, was the one with the popsicle. She said, "Why is this okay?" And then she held up the swab and said, "But this isn't."
Right.
So that's kind of like inverse, right? Because paternity, right? Here's the deal. You say it's 20%. I think it's just a little bit higher. That's my opinion, though. Purely my opinion. Of guys that are raising other people's children. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that these women are actually on social media saying these things. Say, I'm 41 years old. I don't have any kids. So basically, I've been on the carousel, and here I am at the end of the ride. It's interesting to me that they're openly discussing it like that. I think that that is a clear example of a woman that has zero self-control. Okay, maybe some dudes might pick that up and run with it, but once again, this is 100 red flags in that right there. For me, when it comes to hypergamy, I mean, she's definitely fallen victim to not having any self-control. And
I would say her true nature has been subverted, not unleashed, but her nature has been subverted for a construction that was sold to her.
Yeah, 100%. The feminist ideal when she was a younger child, and it's interesting how she put that sad music with that. All she ever wanted was to have a family.
Right.
Why didn't you? Too many Chads.
Too many Chads. Too many options, really. Yeah, and the options are really, really unlimited with social media.
And what's interesting too is, she looks like she's relatively in decent shape. She's got decent hair. She's not a mutt face. I called her a mutt.
She did have a butterfly tattoo.
She did. But the thing is, girls that are in that stature right there, especially if they're not overweight, they're already in the, they're already getting the pick of the litter anyways, because let's face it, even the bigger ladies, the thicker ones are, getting the top 10% of guys now anyways, and Huds can probably comment on that a little bit more because he's more in the dating thing. But I think, if you have it together remotely, I mean, you can win anywhere.
Right. It's true. All right. Let's get another take at it. Glenn.
Yes. So the way I look at hypergamy is that it's a necessity.
How do you define it?
Well, okay, it's like this. Alpha bucks or alpha fucks made of bucks. I mean, pretty interesting, pretty basic. Rollo defined it perfectly. Women want the best male they could possibly get, and sometimes what they do is they shoot themselves in the foot, because sometimes I think, especially now with modern feminism, is like what women think the top 10% is not the top 10 or the top 20%. They think the top 20% of all men, not all men that they could aspire to get, but all men. And I think that's what shoots women in the foot sometimes. And then you get women that are like this lady who's 41 years old, who at her point, she is hit the wall. She's aging out. You know, she's not going to land that guy that she wants and be able to have kids and stuff like that, because she's holding on to, I want the top 20% of all men. And when you look at that, well, the top 20% of all men are either are married, or have a relationship, or have a harem, or they're just not getting married. They're just enjoying playing the field because they have the luxury of playing the field and not having to settle down.
I love what you're saying. Keep going. I'm going to put up the graph just for you.
So it's
because
like,
you're explaining it perfectly.
So I think, when it comes to women, it's like, especially nowadays, is that they all think that they could reach the top 20%, or they deserve the top 20%, and they're not being realistic with themselves. And what they end up doing, like this lady is, they've held out, they have played the whole Rachel and Ross, thing on Friends, where like, hey, when we age out to this point, if we're still single, we'll get married. Well, now look at her. All her opportunity, that those good guys that she may have had, who may have been like decent and would have been perfect for her, she passed up, and now she doesn't have any options. And it's like, guys don't have to age out. We don't hit a wall like women do, because we are not valued the same way as women are.
Tell me about the wall. Tell me about that, Glenn.
Well, the wall is basically when a woman cannot compete with her self when she was in her prime. So if a woman's prime is between 18 and 25, 24,
right?
What a wall is when a woman hits, let's say like this lady is 41. This lady cannot compete with a 25-year-old version of herself. Okay, she can't get the same guys as she could when she was at 25. That's the wall. The wall is not, specifically like, oh well, I hit 30 now, I'm done. No, it's what you can't compete with when you were younger. Like that's the wall, and women have a hard time with that. And then that means, well, if you hit the wall, what do you got to do? Well, you have to eventually come to a realization. You have to lower the expectations that you once had, and no women want that, because that means now they have to settle. And instead of capitalizing on their youth and finding that guy within that age frame, they're like, no, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to have fun. I'm hot. I'm sexy. I can still get it. But then it comes to a time where, they can't get it like they used to. And that's the wall.
Yeah. Good explanation. I mean, absolutely. I think we all know, but maybe our viewers don't. This is, shout out to the Rational Male, Rollo Tomasi. This is his graph. This has become famous. This is actually mainstream now. And this is the age right here. And this shows women, and it's their peak sexual market value. Remember, women have sexual agency, and it's based on their fertility. All men will find women very attractive at this rate. If this is just how it is. Right here at 24, right here is where it intersects. Men take longer. They have a burden of performance to hit their peak right here in their mid-30s, and it holds for quite a while. If you notice, the women, as I've laid it out, it's pretty tough. It starts to get less. And as we all know, it's tougher to stay in shape when you get older. And her access to these guys, they're all looking here. They're all pointing their eyes in this direction, not in this direction over here. That makes it pretty tough. And just for fun, while you were doing that, I don't know if I can, maybe I could share it. Let's see if I could still share. I'll have to kill this sharing, I think. I'll tell you later. I'll just tell you real quick. While you're doing that, I Googled women hitting the wall. And on Google, if you type in Google, women hitting the wall, it comes up with nothing. It's just stock photos of women punching walls, things like that. I dare you to try it on the Brave browser. And you know how they count these things is by hits. You will see a vast difference. So you're getting curated information if you go to Google. It says, it talks about stock wall photos, and it never goes into anything about aging hitting the wall. So as the manosphere defines it, is very interesting. You have 184 million results on women hitting the wall, but when you go to the Brave browser, you've got almost 200 million, and it's all about the popularity. So it talks about women hitting the wall. So people do know this. And then you'll see the secondary, it comes from sports, I guess. Athletes hit the wall as they age because their bodies wear out. Kind of very similar. But I noticed this about the wall too, Glenn. It's kind of like gambling or investing. When you're up and have lots and lots of options, it's really kind of tough to get out of that market, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? I mean, it's really kind of hard.
It's like you have to play it aggressive enough to make sure that you get the best option. But at the same time, know that once you know what the best option, once you have the best option out of all the options you had before, know when to cash out.
Yeah.
And that's what's a struggle for women, because they compare themselves to everybody else. So let's say, the girl that Hud gets with, right? Oh, she thinks that he's the best, but then she sees Phil's girl and she has Phil, and she's like, well, wait a minute, I want a guy like Phil. Like, so then she's like, well, I'm going to hold off. Maybe Huds is not the best option I could get, because obviously this girl found Phil and I want a guy like Phil. So then now she's comparing Huds to Phil and not realizing that Huds is the best option she could get. And she's willing to pass up on Huds because she saw another woman with Phil and like, oh, well, I want a guy like that. So then now she's comparing, and it's a social thing that women do.
It is.
And that ends up shooting them in the foot, because now Huds is like, well, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to go find someone that, that appreciates me. And then now Huds is gone. And now that girl is like, well, wait a minute. I have nobody now. I don't have Huds or Phil. And now she's 41 singing songs on TikTok saying, well, wait a minute. Where's my baby? Well, Hud would have put a baby in you if you would have just been faithful and stayed with him.
Well, that's interesting. I love that you bring it up, because females are much more agreeable. So social proof and pre-selection are so big and influence every female. I'm going to say every female is just like that. Social influence affects them hugely. And in the case of the majority right now, it may not be the best thing, as we're seeing far, far less babies being born, far more complaints as they get older. But and it plays right into, it plays against her hypergamic nature. She's missing her window, and it's tough, because at that point, the guys she wants are never going to look back. And that's really tough, because
I'm just disappointed that Glenn thinks that Phil's more attractive than me.
well, let's
bro, I have seen his workouts. Okay. I'm not going to lie. Those workouts are sexy. Okay. I haven't seen you worked out yet.
Hey.
All right. When I see you do a good morning to a squat at the weight that he did, then we could talk.
Glenn, you're my friend. We're going to have to talk. We're probably not going to work out together. All right. No, not at all, man. You guys are on your game. So, I mean, you're seeing this for what it is, and we can appreciate it. This actually angers a lot of men and a lot of women to hear this, that there's actually limits, because we've been taught, both for men and women, that there is no limits. You can be whoever you want to be at any point in time. And while there's always, all it takes is 10% to be popular and start to catch, and then that everybody believes it. But it's still, there's 90% that doesn't happen. It's a phenomenon.
So I wanted to say something about social proof, since Glenn brought that up.
And then let's go to Andre. Okay, good.
It's not only their social proof or other women's social proof. It's the social proof or clout that a man has too. Okay. Yeah. So just because a lot of women want to be with a guy doesn't necessarily make a lot of women want to be with any woman want to be with him. There has to be something that he's offering, and there has to be some clout to what he's offering. So that comes into attraction too.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that way too many guys think about is, I don't have clout, or I don't have social proof. Well, you can work to get clout, and to improve yourself, so that women start looking at you and start thinking of you as an option.
And you'd say lifestyle runs right into that clout.
Right.
You're using it synonymously. Are you?
Right.
Okay, cool.
You know, it's that provisioning thing. All right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a millionaire to be a provisioner.
That's true.
You just have to be something. You just have to have something in the provisioning category that a woman wants,
And congruent with it. Yeah.
Right. And be congruent with it.
That's a good
And
point.
that's
That's a
why
good
we
point.
talk about developing competencies, because competencies develop confidence.
Yeah. And I would say that all women look for that. So they're all like that when it comes to this, for sure.
Right.
And the quicker men understand this, the better you can play that game. Andre, you've been listening to all of this. Being in the profession of hypnosis, NLP, and a counselor in those areas, you probably understand some of the fundamental things we talked about with social proof and how people perceive, the social construct. So what do you got to say about all this?
I gotta say, Glenn, thank you for what you just said, man. That was in Ray too, but okay. So I'm going to preface this. I know Thor, and I'm going to assume Phil and Glenn, you guys are really into supplementation. You understand the biochemistry of a lot of things. I'm going to agree with everything you said, but I'm going to add a slight parallel that you probably haven't heard before. I love studying hormones, how sleep deprivation, too much sleep, laziness, bright sunlight, bad sunlight, physical use of the body. Do you guys know about antacids? Okay. You know what an antacid does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard one of the side effects of I'm not talking about digestive, what antacids does to human decision making?
It blocks
good.
serotonin.
Phil, have you ever heard this? You have a supplement company, right, Phil?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this, but not to the level that you're fixing to go. So go, man, go.
All right.
Go, go.
This is really so. And what Raith said, getting to hypergamy, and then with Glenn and the decision making. So I love how the brain works, but once you start to affect the hardware, the dendrites, the synapses, and then the chemical uptake of serotonin or the happy hormones, and then when your brain cools off, it heats up, and when you have creativity, and when you shut down, you don't know what to do, and you can't make a decision. This is really fascinating. I have to confirm this. I heard someone just recently sent this to me about 3 weeks ago. I read 2 white papers. I got to read the other ones on it. Antacids actually make you more suggestible.
Oh, I'm going to go there with you later. We'll do that offline.
And what's huge is that when I read this, I started to look back because when I was getting people off antacids because I have digestive issues. Well, dummy, you're not digesting your food, so you have to take prebiotics, or I really like digestive enzymes more than, because prebiotics actually ferment your shit in your colon instead of moving the shit out. I don't want to ferment poop. I want to get the shit out. That's what your digestive system there. Antacids, now you stack. So you guys know about, I'm sure you all have talked about how a woman on birth control will actually pick a beta male, except for the certain times where we're repressing her system, but also she's also more suggestible to TV and all that kind of stuff. So if she's drinking, and we went into lockdown, and one thing, I used to be in a restaurant. This is the reason why I got fasted. I didn't really like Rollo. Then he said, when I saw Rollo years ago, maybe 6 years ago, and he said, I sold alcohol. I'm like, dude, because I understand ecology of restaurant bars and all that kind of stuff, how people buy stuff. I did demographics in the restaurant business. I was like, and here's the thing. When you're at a bar, if you drink, you're going to most likely, even if you don't like her, she's a little too much overweight, you're like, but I'm horny. That's self-suggestion.
Inhibition.
You're overriding, right? So if you throw in a woman that is now on birth control, whatever psychotropic that she's on from her depression or her anti-anxiety or whatever, and I don't know the level of antacids, but I will tell you this right now: all the government soup alphabet soup agencies inside our government and other governments now know this, and they've known this, like, I think for the last 18 months. If you take antacids, you are more suggestible. To the level, I don't know. Anybody you know that's on antacids, get them the fuck off of it now. Tell them taking that, eat the right food, get shit, whatever done. But that's huge, because I look at it, the people that are having problem in my family that are in school, and my personal friends and their kids, guess what they're all on? Even teenagers are on, guess what, right now? Antacids.
So now let's talk about that just for a second, but I want to reference this back to the original question. But
Women are just making bad decisions. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
Okay. All right. I like that. And we're talking about stuff like proton pump inhibitors, things like that, right? Okay. All right. Not just calcium carbonate.
Right.
Okay. So they make these decisions. How do you think that influences her hypergamic nature? So it makes her susceptible to societal suggestions on feminism, on social
Yes. So whatever,
constructionism.
right. So whatever the propaganda is, no matter good, bad, or indifferent, she's more susceptible. But we know that it's the hypergamy. That's the reason why women are now going for such alphas, and then they're locking, and the list. Here's the other one that I have to do my research. But that's why the list used to be, back when I was growing up, about 75 to 100 things in a guy. Now women literally have a list of 400 things, because what are they saying? The social proof of other women. It's now acceptable to be freaking crazy to have a list of 400 things, because they're watching all the women say it's okay, and no one's calling that out. So that's now becomes acceptable. And though instead, because everybody's like, man, I remember back when I was in high school, you can't have 50 things in a guy. It should be like 10 or less. Then there's something wrong with you. And that's what the women used to tell the younger women, or look, you can't have that. So that's why I'm excited about that, because I love this side of it. It's not just the hardware and the software, but how it's affected through epigenetics, what we eat, the nutritions, our hormones, and then this. So it's a whole nother level of women going through their hypergamy, but also accepting cultural Marxism, or making bad. I would just say simply making bad decisions.
So before I go to this graph, which is related to what you just talked about, maybe I should carry a bottle of Pepsid AC when I want to do a Phil Cosby, huh?
Hey, want some Tums, baby?
Maybe Pepsid AC would be what I'd need to go with.
I got Tums for everybody. Come on. We'll chalk up a line of cherry Tums.
Come on, I got like a dozen Tagament. Here we go.
Just to circle back real quick before Thor moves on, Andre, so the digestive enzymes are good though, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Digestive
okay,
enzyme.
That's good, because my supplements are loaded with them. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I dodged
awesome,
that bullet.
brother.
Yeah.
I look at what most prebiotics, that's the reason when this. So prebiotics, when people take prebiotics, they fart a lot, and that's the fermentation. That's like they're actually making grain alcohol, corn alcohol, and that's why a lot of people. This is the other level of what I noticed in the 90s when I got into this shit. No pun intended. That everybody's making alcohol and everyone's waking up. So the other thing too, on the flip side of this, everyone's making corn alcohol, sugar alcohol, grain alcohol in their digestive system, because they don't got the crap out of themselves. And guess what that affects? That's why in the late 90s, they said the millennials were going to die before Generation X, because in New England, 60% of New England children in 1998, 1990 already had cirrhosis scars on their livers from the amount of corn that they ate. So, but guess what corn does? High fructose corn syrup. It makes you more suggestible.
Corn is for cattle.
Sugar too. Sugar's an issue.
Yes,
that's for sure. Yeah, that's why we say don't be fat, guys. Let's slow down the grains, slow down the sugars. And we always tell guys in the self-help group, first thing I do when I get a hold of a guy and we're starting to do a body recomposition and actually balance his hormones and get him back in a place where he can be confident and be out there in society pursuing women in person, is to minimize alcohol intake. Now, look at this. This is something that's right up your alley. This is demographics of long-term antidepressant use. Older white women account for 58% of adults. When it says older, we're looking at that 45 range. We just saw that woman at 42 looking like she might need that glass of wine and Xanax when she started thinking about missing her opportunity to have children. And that was her desire as a young girl. Society, maybe she was susceptible to suggestion, and took it out of her. And now she's getting a moment to reflect. That's kind of sad, really. When you think about it. Purpose of the universe, here you are. You're so susceptible to social norms and pre-selection. And you follow that thinking you're doing all the good things, and you're being denied eventually, your birthright as a human female. And that's fucking depressing. And so here comes Big Pharma and say, we got you covered here. That's a huge difference. Anyways, I thought I would point that out because you had brought up the fact that, some of these influences on our diet, exercise levels, women are being told body positivity today. Men are so desperate, it doesn't matter what they look like, to be perfectly honest. They're going to say that it's the hot chick. They're all going to say that. But once you get around the MPJ within 6 feet and it's kind of interested, guys are going to be guys. I mean, this is going to happen, and it just feeds the cycle over, the body positivity movement. It just feeds right into it. I mean, I got a graph here that young men, 28% of them are sexless under 30. That's 2 years old. So a lot of thirst, a lot of social unrest because of that. Now, where was I back with Andre? Andre, your thoughts on hypergamy and why women are all like that?
It's biological. I'm not a eugenist by any stretch, but the whole thing about I'm a spiritual guy. I like nature, and I don't mean kumbaya. I like to go out there. When I was in Wisconsin, I'd go fishing for bluegill and bass and catfish. Guess what? Nothing but guys. The women were back at the hunting cabins or the fishing cabins if
Right.
grandma went. And the hypergamy aspect is, it's like, my younger self would have hated me saying this today, but it's more true. Guys are guys, women are women. Guys want to do. My cousin Hector was against kind of a lot, and he said he finally had a boy after his girls went to Toys R Us. His son would always run to the guns and the soldier stuff.
Okay.
Hypergamy. When you open this up with the list with women, hypergamy is that this is what actually proves hypergamous nature actually proves biological nature, biological drives.
It does. And Mark, when we talk about this, females, sexual, I mean, what do they call it? The duality of a hypergamous nature. It's Chad or it's a dad. At least that's our easy way to understand it. When it's Chad, she's young, options are unlimited. She's winning at the casino table. That is hard to walk away from. All of us would be difficult when the chips are adding up and they keep rolling and you keep hitting it, because that's what it feels like. Everybody around you on that roulette table or the craps table is telling you, go girl, you got it all. This is yours forever. Man, that's a pretty strong social signal, isn't it? And then, when it's time to cash out, all you're left with is the dads, maybe. And maybe not even them if you wait long enough. That's a hard place to go when you go and taking just a few chips to the cash out table. What do you think, Mark? What do you think about this hypergamy? I'm blessed that we have it because it makes us better. But you can see a lot of struggle with men and women understanding this now.
That's exactly what I was thinking. On the positive side, it makes you step up. Unless you want to get angry and blame women, then you're playing the victim. Because the reality is, you want to get a good woman, and I think everybody wants the best woman they can get, just like the women want the best man they can get. It just causes you to step up and become all you can be. What's what we really need to be doing anyway. And if you're with a woman let's say you get a good woman, if you're not stepping up and being all you can be, she's probably going to start looking for someone who's going to do that. And I think that's what happens to a lot of men. It's happened to me. We get in a relationship, whether it's long-term or married, and we become comfortable. And we quit doing what we were doing when we met this girl, because we got that locked in, and maybe we had a pretty good vision when we met her, and we were going somewhere, and then we get married. Maybe we have a couple kids, and you're just trying to support the family, and your vision kind of gets faded out there, and these women become bored, or they just, like I said before the show, you hear that I love you, but I'm just not in love with you anymore because you are not the man that she met. So it's much easier. I've been single for, I guess, the last 10 or 12 years. I dated a girl for a while, about a year, but it's much easier being single. I've been married 4 times, as you guys. I did meet somebody last night that had me. He'd been married 6 times. So, but I date a girl now, or I see a girl. She's from another country, and she is 22. And she's at that point where she's got like 22,000 followers on Instagram. She has unlimited options, guys throwing money at her, trips. And I see how that plays on her, because like we were talking about the girl, I felt bad for the girl too that wants to have kids now and she's 42. Yeah, it was her choices, but she bought into society's programming. And now it's too late. So I see this girl, and here's what they tell themselves, or at least that's what Well, because I told her, I said, you need to be, maybe meet up with somebody. Now's the time. You're in your power now. Well, if I don't get somebody, she says, I don't need it, man. I'm just going to stay single, and I'm investing money now, and I'm this. And she thinks that that's going to keep her warm at night when she's 30, 40 years old. But we know that that doesn't work out the way, because they have that nature that they want to have children.
Well, they need the security. Security is so much more important for women. I mean, we're really disposable. We know it. We can sleep in the cave. Yeah, we might be uncomfortable with it, but we know that it can go for us. For a woman, that's just so terrifying not to have the security of the tribe and the man that is claiming, right?
At the time, she lives with her brother, but the time's going to come when they're going to go their own ways. And like you say, a woman, needs to. She doesn't want to be alone. But when they're in their power, they can't imagine ever being alone. When you got all these guys from all over the world throwing themselves at, and we talked about that, they think it's never going to happen.
I think insecurity in older women actually drives that antidepressant up. It's the insecurity.
Yeah. So, but it's just hard. Like I say, when they're in their prime, they cannot imagine that they won't ever be in their prime, that they won't still be wanted until they get to the point where all of a sudden they're not getting all these DMs and all these people throwing themselves and the trips and the money and everything at them. So, yeah, it's an illusion, but it's short-lived. As we know, time flies.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I think everybody's had their say on that. I'm going to move us along. I had a thought. And the thought was, a lot of us have been in long-term relationships. And I find it interesting. I think the majority of the panel here has been in long-term relationships. And it's interesting to me to note that, at least for the majority of us, the women we have chosen have actually been younger than us. Isn't that interesting when we lead? Is that the case? I think it's the case the majority of us do.
I'm the exception to the rule.
But that doesn't violate the rule. I mean, there's always exceptions, and it doesn't mean anything other than the mean tendency points in a direction. That's all. It just means, okay, here we are. It points in a direction, but you're still going to face exactly the same thing, right? Whether they're younger or not. And one of the things I noticed, having worked with a lot of couples, is there is, in particular, I think biology is at play here. You meet a woman, everything's good. You get through it and you marry, or you get together, and you have a good time. It's called the honeymoon phase, right? You don't know exactly what her fart smelled like. You don't see her warts, all that stuff. You're hit with this chemistry that nature gives you, right? And it's pretty exciting, and it moves forward, and you get pregnant, or you get her pregnant, right? Well, I guess today men can get pregnant, they say, right? So might as well buy into that. And we love you, YouTube God. So pregnant men, men on periods, right? Anyway, back to the story. You get through that, you have the children, there's a little bit of postpartum depression that goes with a woman having a child. Her body's been through a lot, right? But it comes back, and generally you'll possibly maybe even have another one within a year or two. Once she gets those pipes ready, she can spit them out, it seems like, right? And then you get into that 5th and 6th year. Statistically, what happens between there and year 7? Anybody?
They get that itch.
They get the itch. They want that alpha back.
There's something called, yes. And why is that the case? Why is nature? And it happens to men too, because here's the thing. Variety is a monster driver. And during that honeymoon phase, the variety's there. You're on the kitchen, you're on the counter, you're in the bathroom, you're outside in the back under a tent, whatever it is, right? You're under the stadium, you're in the car. That variety and excitement is there. And then you get really to know that person. It's really good. But then the kids come along, things happen. The kids now basically could survive with the tribe when they hit that 5 to 7 year mark, right? And this seems to hold throughout the entire length of an LTR. Between those years, that there's something going on where all of a sudden attraction levels go down, and there's a drive. Change the genetics, move things around. Grass is greener. Have you ever heard that? The grass is greener. It's not only is it greener, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And society really feeds a huge business on this. Now, for those that get past that, it takes a year or two, it's rekindled, and it doesn't rise its head again till 14, 15, 16 years. In some cases, if you just do the math, right around 2021, comes back again. And you could see this. I'm not going to bring the statistics up, but you can see this. If you can make it past 25 years, it slows way the hell down. But this, I believe this is truly driven by biology, and it feeds right into the need for a woman to find better and bigger, and that variety and novelty does affect her. But for men, look, we get tired of the same old thing too. There's a drive and a need. You start looking, wow, younger, hotter, tighter. We have the ability to inseminate females right up to the day we die, because we can go at any minute. So we have to be prepared to do that. And so that I find that really interesting part of all women are like that. And I haven't seen really too many, if any, relationships that didn't have rocky parts in somewhere around those times. You guys find that too to be true?
Very much so. It's always on the timeline, especially that first one when you just start to break out of that honeymoon phase, or even when you first start to move in together, that something happens. It's just inevitable.
It's the mystery. The mystery is no longer there.
Tell me about it.
It's what happens is everybody gets comfortable. Okay. You end up forming a routine. You go to work at 7 in the morning, and then you come back at 5 p.m. and then you guys have, dinner with the kids, and then you tuck them into bed. And then it just, the routine becomes so, normal that both men and women end up desiring mystery or a little drama. They want that mystery.
Yeah. So girls just want to have fun, right?
Yeah,
Girls love drama. Girls live off of drama.
Guys,
We got another mic open. Phone, mic, something. Test.
Mark.
I'm going to mute you.
Women love drama. And that's where they say like guys need to create a little bit of drama that they can control, for their woman. Like it's manufactured drama. Create a little bit of drama so she can have her drama, but then be in control of the drama so you can control how far the drama goes. All right. And then you can scale it back and then bring it back down. And then that could be just enough drama for her that she could, maintain that desire to have a little bit of mystery, a little bit of drama without her create. Because as soon as she creates the drama, then you're out of control. You don't have control over that no more.
I like that.
But if you create the drama, you create just enough drama to where you can minimize the damage and you can control how far it goes. That could be enough for her to sustain that mystery that gives her that drive still.
I love that, because when I do the long-term relationships, I don't call it drama. I call it emotional spiking. And there's a reason for that, because drama has a connotation that it can be a bad thing. And there's a way to take it to the edge and get that drama without calling it or pushing it over to where, oh my God, this is so dramatic, but it's an emotional spike. And I find it's just my personal take on it.
Yeah, I mean the verbiage, how you label it doesn't matter. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Same thing, right?
Exactly.
And that's smart.
What about oh, my apologies.
No,
but the thing about controlling emotional spiking is when you start to see her start to go up, that's when you intercede, not after it's up there all the way. And you can use that. You can spike her emotions in the opposite direction.
If I can, Glenn, you said it. You nailed it. In my world, you named it with your first word. Your singular first word was this: comfort. Once you guys are too comfortable, and then everything else is 100%. But the big word is the biological center on that. When you nailed it, Glenn, I mean like a fucking target, was comfort. So in Raith, on the emotional spike you guys are talking about. So if you actually put it on a calendar that she starts to go up or down, or the relation seems to take her out for a weekend, literally do that, because and just say, honey, I'm coming home, boom, pack up the car, we're gonna drop off the kids at grandma and grandpa's, we're going somewhere else. And she's like, but I don't like surprises. Yeah, right, give me a break, whatever. Now your lady and the parameters, you break that comfort cycle, then it has the spike, then you have the emotional, oh, this is different, where are we going? And you can tell her, hey, I'm in Houston, Texas, we're gonna go to Corpus Christi. and then don't go to Corpus, you go to Dallas. And then you say, hey, we're going to go to Corpus Christi. Oh, we didn't go last time. Then you take her to Baton Rouge, or you go to gambling and you take her to Louisiana, right? Whatever it is. And she's like, it's a little off center, but it's okay. It's not dangerous. You're just going to a different destination. Then you have that 2-3 days. It breaks the cycle. It breaks the routine. But what you're talking about, so it's the spike on Raith. You nailed it. It's the Thor. It's the spiking, but it's just breaking that routine. And don't do it every 6 weeks. Biologically, it's like even take say the 4th week, the 6th week, the 7th week, whatever it is, change it up. And then even the next week, if you want to keep it going, 2 weeks later, do it again, and it just changes it up. So anyway, Glenn, you fucking nailed the shit out of it. In my world, it's called comfort and just changing it up. So thank you, Glenn.
Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was going to tee off of that too, along with the comfort thing, is she's missing that excitement. And so Andrea really kind of nailed on that with saying, hey, take her and do something different every time. She needs that excitement. If she gets bored and you're letting yourself go or you get comfortable, absolutely. I mean, you're going to have a problem on your hands quickly. Emotional spiking and things like that. I agree with what Raith was saying 100%, but I think that women, they desire that excitement. They're looking for something outside of what they have. She was excited for you, but here you are, you're going to work, you're going to the gym, you're doing your thing, and she's not excited by you anymore. She loses that attraction because of that excitement is gone. And so she's going to go look for that excitement somewhere else, whether it's in the backseat of the SUV outside of the yoga studio or wherever it might be. I'm just saying.
I mean, that just proves why why so many married women love the show The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. It's like you love a show about a guy dating multiple women and sleeping with multiple women. Why? Because it's the little bit of excitement or the drama that the show provides that is enough for them, that they feed off of it. Guys need to learn how to create that for themselves within their own relationships. So it keeps the woman not seeking, the Bachelor, but enjoying their own relationship.
Well, let's call it like it is. It actually is social proof, and and all women find that arousing at the most lowest level. They cannot deny that. That's exciting. That's arousing. An alpha guy that is in control of all of that.
It's no secret.
It pulls that tribe together. That's where we came from.
Yeah, it's no secret that 50 Shades of Grey was the #1 bestseller, man. Excitement. Fantasy.
Off no promotion. You guys know that movie that was a book that had no promotion. That book slipped out of nowhere, and it literally was all word of mouth. Word of mouth made that book popular, which pushed it into a movie. Okay, when it first came out, it was not on the top billboards and nothing. It was all no promotion for that book. It was all word of mouth.
Yeah, interesting. Anybody have anything else on this, or I'll bring up a graphic if you guys
I'd like to
want.
make a point on this.
Yeah.
Aren't we as men? I mean, I'm older than most of you guys. Not everybody. Well, maybe. We are raised up to believe, or at least this is what I heard, that if you get married, you provide, you go to work every day, you actually become, I won't say boring, but that's the way you're a steady, dependable man. That is the kind of man you're supposed to be. But we see what happens when we get married and we do that, and we don't give them the excitement like Andre talked about. And Glenn was right. We get in this comfort zone, but that's what I heard all my life. A good husband provides, he's stable, he's dependable, he's steady, but it doesn't work. I mean, I had one of my ex-wives tell me, you're a good father and a good husband, but I can't live this kind of life anymore. So she went off with the guy who just got out of jail with the ankle.
Oh boy.
So
because I think we get confused with comfortability and security. We provide, we think that we have, in order to provide security, we have to provide comfortability. And I think that's, where guys kind of get confused is like, yeah, we need to provide security and, someone that they could, feel safe around and provision, but we don't necessarily have to be comfortable. Men are not supposed to be safe. Okay. Guys are not supposed to be safe, but that's the thing what we do. We play it safe. We try to keep it safe so women feel safe and feel comfortable. We are not supposed to be safe at all. I mean, even Jordan Peterson, and somebody I don't necessarily agree with a lot, even talks about men should not be safe. We are animals, okay? We could snap and break somebody's neck in a thought if they pushed us to it. So being safe and being comfortable are two different things, and security are two different things. And we have to realize that safety and comfortability is something that we're not necessarily supposed to provide. They're supposed to find safety and comfortability within us, but we're not supposed to provide it for them.
Okay, I think I missed a little bit of that being unsafe like that does actually reinforce they feel that you would provide security being that
Exactly.
capable, right?
Well, I think way too many men, once they get into relationships, they start negotiating their boundaries. They start negotiating their frame.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that most people need to understand isn't negotiable. You know, if you have standards for yourself and you have standards for the relationship, you have to constantly enforce those standards, because most women will try to eat away at those standards. And just by keeping those standards keeps enough tension in the relationship that you know, you don't have to make these big grand gestures all the time. It's good to make those big grand gestures and to add confusion, that kind of stuff. But I've seen way too many men get into marriages and they like Glenn said, they get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when they when they get comfortable, they start saying, as she starts shit testing against the standards and stuff and the boundaries that they have, they start releasing those boundaries and they start relaxing those boundaries. And it's when you relax those boundaries, then I think that's when she loses faith in your ability. And that's where, and when she does that, that's where attraction starts to dwindle.
I think that's very true. And I think that then you also couple it with something like this. They don't want to miss out on what their single friends are doing because now they see the excitement there. They're not being held to those boundaries. This is a big influence. Women are highly influenced by their social circle. And as a leader in the relationship, this is something you have to be very aware of. I did a complete analysis of the added values and liabilities to this right here and what you should be aware of in a long-term relationship, because this can be a huge influence. FOMO will sneak up. It can be denied, but it is there. It's a big social pressure that's going on.
But how many guys? I mean, there's a lot of men here. How many guys? I'm trying to think how I want to word this. When a woman enters into a relationship with you, her social circle should change. She shouldn't be running around with the party girls anymore. You know, if you're allowing her to do that, that's something on you.
It really is. And look at when you have the gals that are out there, like on Myron's podcast and Fresh, the first thing you say is, oh, well, no more girls' night out. Well, they freak out over that. How is that possible? I have girls' night outs now. What they don't understand is when they find that guy, their whole social circle is going to change. And that's not really an option anymore. They don't even want to do that if you've done exactly what Raith has said.
Well, it should be like your friends ends up becoming her circle of friends. You know, so it's not necessarily like they're guy friends, but like let's say you have friends that are couples, right? Like let's say me and Thor, we're hanging out.
Yep.
Well, you know what? My girl should be becoming good friends with Thor's girl. That's the social circle that she will end up adapting to if she's in your frame.
It's true.
Because she wants to be as close to you as possible. And if she knows these people are close to you, she wants to establish a relationship and connection with that because it complements you.
It does.
And it complements her.
Yep.
And I will add on that.
It's a really good point. And was that?
No, go for it, Huds.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I find it interesting that the social circle changing. When we got together with me and my girl, all of the friends that she was hanging out with absolutely despised me. And when I look at like who I am as a man and what I do and what I bring to the world, and then I compare it to the guys that like the deadbeats that these girls were dating, like no wonder they didn't like me because they were jealous of it. And that's just the other side of the coin with it. It's interesting, and it all sparked from what you had said, Thor, that they're influenced by their circle of friends. So it's interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's more powerful than people recognize, and that's another reason I say all women are like that. It's very much communitarian, and they look to that social circle. You must be very cognizant of it in a long-term relationship for sure. Phil, you had one thing to add, and then I want to get your guys' opinion on the graph.
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple of things. First off, I think the older the lady is, though, the tougher it is for her to let go of that social circle, number one, because she has that ingrained in her. Okay. She's used to spending that time with those girls. Like I was dating a girl. She's a little bit older. She's my age. And, the big thing was like, well, so-and-so's, it's her birthday. So we're going to do the girls trip.
Right.
And I said, if you ever want me to take you seriously, that's done. Going out to the bar or whatever. Well, I like live music. Me and the girls, we go out and listen to live music. Well, if you ever want me to take you seriously, that's done. And now it's to the point now where it's like the conceptualization. Well, why isn't he giving me access to him? Why isn't he giving me time? I just steadily remove my time from that human being because I'm not going to take her seriously. I got other things I want to do anyways. The moral of the story is, she's going to go my direction, kind of like what Glenn was talking about, or we have nothing to talk about. Because my frame is all when it comes to me. I don't care about the rest of it. I don't care about your social circle, your girlfriends, your girls' trips, any of those things. If you want me to take you seriously and you want access to me, my time, then that's how it's going to be, period.
Well, I like that. I like the fact that you put the boundary up, but I don't put a different spin on it because I think that there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is, by you doing that and by laying it out like that, what you're actually doing is you're reducing her exposure rate to her nature. Her nature is going to drive her in a direction that she may not even be cognizant of. And if you're a proper leader, you're going to ensure that she's not exposed. It's just like what Andrew Tate's been saying and has been banned from Facebook and IG for when he says, yeah, I got a nice Lamborghini. It's got the best anti-theft in the whole world. Am I going to go park it in downtown Compton and leave it there for a while? People are going to try to break in. Sure they are. But why would I let them do that? Why wouldn't I just put it in a nice parking garage that's protected?
Yeah, but don't you think part of that comes from the fact that they don't recognize the investment that men make in them?
Well, yeah, I think we could do a better job actually, Raith, in making them aware of that as we're going into these relationships and as we're maintaining them as a leader. We don't have to be blunt about it, but we could demonstrate it. I think would be good. I don't know that it would be. It's going to be a battle, but I think that's when you just have to do it. And if you can't, you cut your losses.
Right.
Good point, Phil. Really good point. I was going to ask you guys, what do you guys think about this graph? This is just a fun graph. We're just going to have fun with it. What do you think? And here's what it is. This is a year snapshot of data that's been pulled from Facebook. And it is peak breakup times. Is there anything here that stands out to you guys? Here you go. Peak breakup times, according to Facebook data, where people, you guys have all seen Facebook, Oh, I'm single again. Oh, single, ready to mingle, right? Oh, I'm in a relationship. So taking that data,
Yeah,
it's just what you see. What stands out here?
It's a two horn. It's one. It's after they do oh shoot, what do they call it? Cuffing season. After cuffing season, after Valentine's Day, once we are about to enter into summer, when we're starting with April, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, tell me about cuffing season. I'm an old guy. What's cuffing season? That sounds like you're pulling out some handcuffs.
For sure. So cuffing season, there's so many jokes about it. Cuffing season is essentially as you're getting into the winter months, you are trying to lock yourself down with a man that you can bring home for the holidays, have fun with, stay inside with. I know, especially I went to Penn State myself, so it's very cold, and you would not see girls out there. Between December, January, and then February is when they would start to show up again. It was appalling. It was so interesting because they all would get boyfriends and they would just stay in on the weekends instead of having to walk around, go to different bars or fraternities because they just didn't want to be in the cold. So it makes sense that the two parts. The first one is the end of cuffing season after they've gotten everything that they wanted. out of that type of relationship. And then what's
Is that
interesting,
spring break, Valentine's, that's where the breakups are going, right?
Yep, that's the first one. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a double. So, and then the second one is because they're trying to start anew. They're thinking about things as they're approaching holidays. Like this, I can't do another year with this guy, and they're just thinking about it, especially with New Year's coming. Then they go ahead and jump off. They're like, I can't do this again. I can't do this anymore. What am I doing with my life? That's why it's, as I'm saying, like it's like this, the double. Those are the two biggest times, and those are the reasoning behind both of them.
So it's interesting. You do say her, and this is not broken up by gender, but we know just based on breakups and divorces that 80% are initiated by women. So you find it interesting and kind of explainable for those reasons. Does it have anything to do with social pressure or
some of it's social pressure. It's very easily explainable. I don't know if it's so much social pressure. It's also, well, yeah, I guess it all is social pressure because women are very social creatures, and they're thinking about, especially if you think of the towards like the Christmas area, they want to break up because they're embarrassed to bring that man around their friends and family, and they need to start anew. And then the second one there is, that's more selfish. The first one, when it comes to Valentine's Day and spring break area, that time frame, that's more of a selfish thing where they just had a man for the time being, and then they want to go off and be single again. Like they only had that guy as a placekeeper during those cold winter months.
Yeah, I did notice that the data showed that right there at Christmas, that 2 weeks, it's too cruel to break up. So you get a little Christmas cooch and then sayonara after that.
That's why they do.
That's called a cuddy buddy. That's a cuddy buddy. You know, a cuddy buddy is somebody that you just, have around, you call over, you're not really boyfriend or girlfriend, but you kind of play the role, but it's a cuddy buddy. It's just somebody you sleep with, and then you don't want to take too serious. You don't want to bring them home to mom and dad, or you're not really committed to them. So, when spring break comes around, you're like, you know what? I'm going to dip out and do my thing. It's a cuddy buddy.
Okay. So socially though, these are statuses that they're broadcasting to their families that they are a couple.
Yeah. Or at least they're portraying it to where, like, if you just saw them in public, you would think that, they're a couple.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I mean, this is just Facebook stuff. That's what I found it interesting because it's enough for them to sit there and change their status to I'm in a relationship. And then, of course, when they break up, I'm not. So I just found it. There's two big peaks there. And then there's the summer peak. I guess that's hot girl summer, maybe.
It just has to do with if they, because they're more out and about, they're meeting more people. And that's why something like that would happen, because they're seeing more people, but it's more likely to think, I met a better guy.
I was just wondering if that would have anything to do with hot girl summer trends, travel. And then you see kind of a trough right there between, at the end of that season, right through till October.
Yeah, because it's cold. They want somebody to keep them warm with.
Huh?
That bed is cold.
People don't tend to get into relationships in the fall because that's typically like times of change. When you think of seasons as how we view them, that's kind of everything decaying and dying, getting towards the winter. And I know, especially when you think of like schools, like colleges and whatnot, everyone's acclimating and just kind of seeing what's out there. And also, it's great to have a relationship with somebody in that time to go pumpkin picking, things like that, all those different types of activities. So they're not likely, if they're in a relationship, to break up.
Okay. Interesting. Now, I'll just throw out the disclaimer, gentlemen. In this particular one, we're having fun. I personally am making shit up. I have no idea what this is all about. This is all about having a good, fun conversation. I assume the rest of the guys are just going off the cuff with what they believe or opinions here for fun. So, Huds, you've provided a bunch of fun and insight here that I think you're probably pointed in the right direction. So let's get the panel. What do you guys think about the breakup rates with those giant spikes? Anybody?
I can almost look at this graph and see where I've dumped chicks.
Really? No, there's got to be a story there. What's the story?
Dude, this is messed up, man. Where'd you get this thing, man? Did you draw this up?
No, this is.
And then Huds persuaded me with Andre's
everything on the
coaching or
internet's
what?
true, right? Everything on the internet's true. Right?
Wow.
No, man, you can just see it's like, the holiday thing, definitely going home to the family and whatnot. You're just like, I'm done. This is a good time a good clean break right here. And then spring break, starting a new year.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just
well, the spring break thing, I think it's huge between Valentine's Day and spring break. It's like I got to get rid of them so I can go to spring break.
Yeah, it's because the Simps have dropped for flowers, chocolates, and dinner, and that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Now it's I got my girls trip in spring break. Let's go. Let's go. It's time to party. That's the precursor to the summer holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to me.
And there's a tiny little spike right there, and then boom. Yep.
Well, like spring break is like a test for hot girl summer.
Oh.
Like, it's like, do I have it yet? Am I in the shape that I need to be to pull that alpha, that 10 or that top, tier guy? That's what spring break is like, okay, let me see if I have it. Okay, no, I don't got it. Well, let me fix this relationship that I just broke up with and have him hang around a little bit longer.
Did you just say that spring break is a test for hot dog summer?
Yeah, for hot girl summer.
Hot dog summer.
They want that hot dog.
Hot dog summer. I think that's a better name, right?
They want that Dodger dog,
Go girl, hot dog summer. All right, so we're having some fun. What else you guys got on this? I mean, do you glean anything from this Raith at all, or is it just kind of
No, I think all relationships are cyclical, and
yeah,
you and I have been married a long time.
They have limits, yep.
And it's not only through the year. If you look at the 7 year, get the 7 year itch, and then you if you get past that, then at 12 to 15 years, there's another thing that happens in your life that makes you doubt whether or not you should be in a relationship.
Yep.
All relationships are cyclical, and I think it speeds up as you get younger, because you do have that sense of and men do it too. I'm not gonna say it's a woman thing, but
Sure.
There's always that sense of there's better. And then I think at a certain age you get to the point where men switch from that to legacy. I want to create a legacy in my life.
Yep.
And men become more stable as they're looking for legacy, and I think women become more bored as the legacy as they enter those relationships looking for.
I think that's important what you just said. Yeah, absolutely. And it is definitely not just a woman thing here. We're just having fun with this, knowing.
I'm not saying anything. I think I see Facebook or Instagram. I see hot girl summer there all the time, and you'll sit in there and they'll start talking about cuffing season and all those things that they're looking at how their relationships are going to develop over the year. And like I said, as you get into long-term relationships, there's still cyclical things in those long-term relationships that you have to deal with. And like I said, 7 year itch is in the past has been mostly a male thing, but I think you see more and more now that women are experiencing the 7 year itch at a level that we've never seen before. And like you said, when you look at men, when they hit that time about 35 to 40, they start looking to build a legacy. And that's when men get serious about relationships and women get less serious about them.
Yeah.
Well, I think like for women, like men will have a 7 year itch, but I think women have a 3 year itch. I think typically.
Women?
I mean, I think statistics even show that. I mean, even Rollo talks about
it's when they wean. It's when the baby weans.
Yeah, like after like the honeymoon phase, that's when it starts their sexual desire for their partner starts to decline. For women, and men could take up to 5 to 7 years, and that's where we get the typical 7 year itch for men. But we don't really highlight the 3 year itch that women start getting.
let me preface that. That's actually very true, but most women have 2 children at the times, and they usually spread between 1 to 3 years apart. So yes, that's very, very telling. I like that. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't want to go into that detail because it's, you kind of, it gets convoluted, but if you guys want to know more, hit us up on the DragonShip, the paid membership. We go real deep into that sort of stuff because the education is really important. So my whole thing, I want to give everybody an opportunity. The way Glenn explained this to me, and I think I'm going to really agree with this. So guys, if you're opportunists, think of it this way. Spring break is a test for hot dog summer, but actually tacos go on sale in summer. Does that sound about right, Glenn?
That's it. That is definitely it.
That's what I learned from this graph. Anybody else want to comment on the graph? Mark?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I live in a place where we have seasons, and I know in the spring, I don't notice as much now as I used to when I was younger. In the spring, I had a stronger desire to mate. I don't know if that's a biological thing or not, but so in the spring, it makes sense to me when I wouldn't want to be with somebody. I'd be looking for something new, someone to mate with. Something I remember.
Well, I think from animal side is probably true.
Yeah. There might be some biology to that.
Yeah. Yeah, the birds are singing and the squirrels are building their nests. So.
And the bees are buzzing, right? You do all day.
Yeah.
Right on. Andre, did you have a comment on this one before I close this one up?
Yeah, I know some of my girlfriends from my old social circle. I knew one girl would always break up with her boyfriend, whoever she was dating, the first 2 weeks of July, and then she would always break up with the new guy or the old guy right before Christmas. And she did that for 20 years, and she's not married, nor does she have kids.
Wow.
And then I know another girlfriend, it was somewhere around spring break, April, and then another one, the other guy that she would dump was around September. Whatever. I think everybody kind of, that's like when Phil said, "Hey, this looks like me," and when I broke it up, it's like right before Christmas.
Got to get those tingles for the jingles, right?
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I guess the only way you could really prove that, Thor, with the biological thing is to go back and look at. So you look at November, December birth rates as opposed to every other month to see if they're higher,
right?
And same thing, compare impregnation rates during the months of February and March.
Yeah, I would think you could do that. I'm not gonna. That's too much time. I have too much fun to happen, Guys, let's do our closing comments. I had a lot of fun today with Female Nature Unleashed. All women are like that. And the thing is, all men are like that too. So let's do the round table, and then we'll close with me. So let's get it going. Huds, what are you offering up, man?
You got it. So as I said before at the beginning of the show, I'm a dating coach. I help guys of all ages, whether it's helping guys post-divorce get back on their feet or simply helping you just get out there, have a better dating profile, how to text better, how to communicate better. I'm working with Andre right now. We're going to be launching a course that's based on texting along with NLP and hypnosis so that you can get your mind right and then have the technical skills to absolutely kill it. So to reach out to me, I'm going to throw it in the chat here at the Hudsman on Instagram. So go ahead and reach out to me, DM me. I'll answer questions for free. And we do a free 15-minute consult to start anyways. But that's that. This is a great show. Thank you.
Thanks, Huds. We sure appreciate it, Alex. Mark Daniels, Mark's Inspiration, guys. Go subscribe to his channel too, please.
Yeah, you can find me at Mark's Inspiration at Instagram, on YouTube. It's Mark Daniels, Mark's Inspiration. I got a couple books available on Amazon. My website is marksinspiration.com. I offer consulting for whether it be you're going through a divorce or having relationship problems, anything in life, really. I deal with everything in life because I've had a lot of different experiences and a lot of adventures. So I'd be glad to help you out there. And we're offering, I'm offering half price on the consulting in September. So if you want to jump on that, just get in contact with me.
That sounds like a good deal, man. Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Phil Foster, Mr. Fitness. How you doing, brother?
Doing okay. You can find me at philfosterfitness.com. That's my website. We do hormone consults, get you dialed up. We have supplements, training through the app and in person if you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You can find me at Phil Foster _ on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Just hit me up if you have any fitness-related questions. Once again, thanks so much for having me on, Thor. It's been a great discussion. See everybody here as well today. Thanks.
Oh, you bet, Phil. It's a pleasure to have all you guys on here. Good friends. Andre, our newest member. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I use NLP and hypnosis to reprogram guys' minds. The only clients I take is men. Reprogram you to get rid of the stress, anxiety, get rid of your fears, and get to the good side, get to the solutions that you want. I'm going to be doing a program, as Huds said, with Huds on texting. Get your mind right, get your texting right, get the ladies, the 9s and 10s you want to date. And I've shut down my social media because I had to redirect my business towards this and some other projects that are going to come out of this. So more to come later. Thank you.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing that as well. And we'll see you on the DragonShip membership. Raith Tour, original member, man. Good to have you on board, by the way.
Thanks. Raith Tour, and I put it in the chat, but it's Yahoo, Instagram, Facebook, Telegram. It's all the same names everywhere. I also do NLP, but I don't use it so much to teach you how to be with women. I teach you how to be with yourself. And that's the first thing. And most of my focus is on you developing frame and healing from, past relationships and issues that you have. And that focus really revolves around you reinventing or finding your authentic self. So if you want to talk to me, I do consultations. They're modestly priced. If you want to talk to me, hit me up on Raith Tour at any of those areas.
Thank you very much. My good buddy, Mr. Hollywood, Glenn Lawrence, my favorite actors.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? I'm Glenn Lawrence. I am not a dating coach, but I will listen to your problems and help you out. I am an actor, writer, and soon-to-be director for my own feature film. I'm making movies about, men's struggle. I don't think there's enough about that. We are trying to get a red pill film out soon called Mind Dates. It's about dating and dating apps and all that fun stuff that, guys try to use to get girls. So if you want to be a part of that, just hit me up on IG, Glenn_Lawrence_presents, or you go to my website, GlennLawrencePresents.com. Hit me up and then we'll get in contact.
Fantastic. Glenn, I'm going to hit you up. I want to get your thoughts, particularly on some of your acting methodology, because what I offer on becomedurable.com is I offer a series called Mastery of Self. And part of being one of my lectures, I offer 6 different lectures in there right now. 2 more are coming, but essentially I'll take young men on how to create a dominant masculine presence for themselves. And a big part of it is learning how to create an identity. And part of creating an identity is acting charismatically, being social, ingraining these thoughts into your soul for other things. I mean, you're going to act on the outside. You become what you think and how you behave. So there are techniques and stuff. I'd like to enhance that module with you at some point. It's
called the method. It's called methodologies, the methodology acting. You got to become it.
I want to tailor it. So I'm going to get with you and I'm going to tailor it so that I can do that too. And so what do? I end up having a becomedurable.com, and I've produced several lectures that are available to purchase, as well as I consult on long-term relationships. I have a lecture on long-term relationship maintenance and success, as well as how to get your girl back, advanced dread game. I offer that. I also offer fitness for the older man and hormone balancing. I also offer how I became more durable. So there's a few of these lectures that you guys could really use if you wanted to, because I've compiled a lot of resources, a lot of reading materials for you, so you don't have to. In addition to that, if you want personal consultation, I also consult on getting into crafts, skilled trades, as well as fitness and relationship advice. So do all of that too. And find me on becomedurable.com. And once again, I'm going to leave us with our motto here on the DragonShip, which is a rising tide lifts all boats. Be that rising tide. Skull. See you next time.